So you've decided to cut carbs because you think it will help you lose weight and control your blood sugar levels. Well, you're right on both accounts, but if you stop eating carbs, then what's left to eat? Hi, I'm Dr. Becky from drbeckyfitness.com. I'm a college instructor of the science of nutrition, and I'll tell you, there's no denying that high-carb foods are fun foods. They are our breads and cereals and potatoes, which give us our French fries and chips and, pizza, candy, milk, chocolate. But the evidence is clear that high-carb foods cause your blood sugar and insulin to stay too high. And when you have more insulin in your blood, there's more fat storage going on inside of your body. So if you want to lose weight, you have to cut back on starchy and refined carbs. But if you do that, then what's left? Well, let's take a look. So there are 3 macronutrients in the foods that you eat, and they are carbs, proteins, and fats. And these are the nutrients that give you calories, which your body then uses for fuel. Now, your goal is to lose weight. So you decide that you're going to drastically cut out your carbs, right? So let's take most of them off of the board here. But now you have a gap in your diet, right? So to fill that gap, we can either choose from proteins or fats. Well, upping protein sounds like a reasonable thing to do because we know protein is a building block for muscle, and protein plays a role in a lot of bodily functions. So it seems that the more the better would be a reasonable way to think. But there's a problem when it comes to high protein diets. If you eat more protein than your activity level, right, it doesn't get stored as extra muscle. You don't just build muscle by sitting on the couch and drinking more protein shakes, right? So if you're taking in more protein than your body can use, it needs to either be excreted, which is very hard on your kidneys, or it gets converted to glucose by your liver. Now that glucose becomes blood glucose or blood sugar, and that's exactly what you don't want when you're on a low-carb diet. So the takeaway is that your health and your weight can be negatively affected if you eat too much protein when you're on a low-carb diet. So we don't want to boost protein to make up for the low carbs, right? So let's put an X through them. So that leaves us with fat. Well, we can't do that, right? I mean, we've been told for decades that eating fat makes you fat. So that must be a bad idea, right? So let's get them off the board too. So that leaves us with very little to eat. Unfortunately, that's called a starvation diet, and your body tends to rebel when you don't feed it. So how do we cut out these fun carbs without starving ourselves or being so miserable that life is no longer worth living? Well, there is a solution. Fortunately, not all carbs, proteins, and fats are created equal. Some are beneficial for weight loss and some are not. I'm going to focus on breaking down carbs and fats for you because these are the ones that are going to have the most impact on your weight. I could break down protein as well, maybe say that there's a difference between animal protein sources and plant protein sources, but when it comes to weight loss, these 2 differences mean little. So just for simplicity's sake, we'll focus on the 2 macronutrients that will have the most effect on your body's ability to lose weight, carbs and fats. Okay, let's look at carbs. So carbs can be broken down in many different ways. I want to focus on fiber content. So we have high fiber carbs and we have low fiber carbs. Low fiber carbs are these refined ones over here, right? Think of it this way. If it's puffed, popped, or processed, it's probably low in fiber. High fiber carbs, or more clearly foods with a good fiber to carb ratio, would be your non-starchy vegetables, nuts, seeds, avocados, things like that. So even if you're on a low-carb diet, these carbs are a good choice, and the reason has everything to do with your blood sugar. The reason low-carb diets work is because they keep your blood sugar level low, which keeps your insulin levels low. Insulin is the fat-storing hormone. It is like the doorman that goes in and out of your fat cells. So when there's a lot of insulin in your blood, the insulin pushes the doors of your fat cells open and allows caloric nutrients, including sugar, to pass from your blood into your fat cells. When insulin levels go down, the doors of the fat cell are able to swing out and allow the fatty acids to come out of your fat cells, and then they get burned as energy. Now, all carbs break down into sugar when they're inside of you, but carbs that contain a lot of fiber break down slowly, so insulin rises slowly, and that's a state your body likes. Now, instead of insulin crashing down the doors of your fat cells, insulin directs that sugar to your muscle cells, to your liver cells, where it can provide long-term sustained energy. Okay, great. So we have some carbs that we can keep in our diet, right? High fiber ones. Let's look at fats and what we can include there. Now, there are definitely some good and bad fats, but it might be surprising to you which fats go on which list, because there are some saturated fats that are on the good list, and the top of the bad list is vegetable oils. So how can that be, right? How can you be bad if you have vegetable in your name? Well, vegetable oils are polyunsaturated fats, which are not very stable fats. When you take them in, they can weaken the membranes that surround your cells. They also throw off your omega-6 to your omega-3 balance, which causes inflammation. Inflammation is devastating to the body. Think of getting inflammation on your skin, and then imagine that inside your delicate blood vessels and cells. Unfortunately, these vegetable oils are everywhere. If you go to your pantry right now and you start reading labels, you might very well find that the majority of the foods that are in your kitchen contain vegetable oil or some type of variation of it, like would be soybean oil or safflower oil or corn oil. So those are the fats you want to avoid. Now, let's look at this column with the saturated fats, what I've called the good column, right? I'll tell you, I've come to accept that along with some of our healthy monounsaturated fats, those would be like our avocados and our nuts and our seeds, there are many saturated fats that are good for us and help us to lose weight. These would be coconut oil, some fats we get from animal products, eggs, butter, meats or beef. Now, grass-fed beef is going to be your best option, but organic and hormone-free have some value. Even full-fat dairy, if you tolerate it, can have some value. And I will tell you, as recently as a year ago, you could have held a gun to my head, and I would have stayed adamant that saturated fats were unhealthy fats that led to heart disease and weight gain. But I will tell you that there are two things that changed my mind about eating saturated fats. First is my personal experience. I've added more fat into my diet, and I am leaner than I've ever been, even though I will be 50 years old in just 2 months. And 50, is a time when menopause is supposed to make women gain weight, right? Well, that just simply has not been my experience, and I attribute a lot of that to boosting my dietary fat intake. Second is some outstanding books by some leaders in nutrition, like Dr. David Ludwig, his book, Always Hungry. Dr. Mark Hyman, who wrote Eat Fat, Get Thin. Dr. Joe Mercola, who wrote the book Fat for Fuel. I recommend all of these books, and all of these doctors share research that really exonerates dietary fats. Back in the 1970s, we decided that fat was evil, so we took fat out of our diet and we replaced it with sugar and carbs. And what happened is we got fat, right? In the 1970s, 1 in 6 people were obese. Today, it's almost 1 in 2. Right now, we're starting to see a shift back. I would say a shift back to a more sane way of eating. People are getting the bad carbs and the sugars out of their diet, and they're putting fats back in, and they're losing weight. And not only that, but they're getting control of hunger and cravings. They're finding that their blood work improves, which lowers the risk of heart disease, cancers, and dementia, and all of those chronic diseases. So to kind of wrap things up here, when you lower your carb intake, these starchy and refined carbs, they're the ones to take out. They don't have enough fiber to keep your blood sugar in check. Instead, you want to go for the high fiber carbs, right? You want these, not these. They are great for weight loss and for hunger control. So enjoy non-starchy vegetables. Eat them with nuts, seeds. Put avocados on your salad. These foods give you both fiber and fat. Build meals around good fats like eggs, fatty fish, high quality meats. In a lot of ways, we're really going back to the good old days when hearty whole foods were the norm. And I will tell you, if you've struggled with hunger or a lack of satisfaction with the food choices on a diet, or you tend to lose weight too slowly for your satisfaction, get rid of the quick digesting carbs. Replace them with good fats and high fiber. This is the diet structure that I share in my weight loss coaching program. So if you're looking for some guidance on how to put a satisfying and effective diet together, you can check out my coaching program. I'll leave some links here on the video. And as always, if you found this video helpful and you'd like more tips just like it, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I will be back soon with some more. Thanks.